One ecosystem, you know them. We not frightened for nobody, but we respect everybody, and we better than everybody. So we will run with anybody. No fear, no better than we. No kind, no better than we. Step on me one and say, one ecosystem to the world you say. One ecosystem will do something, do something, do something, do something, uno do something, do something. I'm not talking. One ecosystem will do something, do something, do something, do something, uno do something, do something. I'm not bag of lip chasing. Hey, hey.
Good evening, good evening, good evening to Trinidad and Tobago. Good evening, Caribbean, and good evening, world. Welcome to another fantastic show, Beyond 2021. This is the show where we delve into the emerging technologies, the technologies that deals with things like cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, and the likes. You know, so we are going to delve again this evening into that cyberspace. We need to understand what is the financial revolution. We need to understand the importance of position ourselves. This is season 4 and it's episode 24. And it's another time for us to engage you, the viewing public. So we welcome you once again to Beyond 2021. It's nice having you here. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, pull up a chair. Let's get going with the show. Let's welcome our co-hosts, and we have a very, very important guest with us this evening. So let's get your opening remarks. Mr. Dwayne KDs, Mrs. Samlal Singh, Donna Samlal Singh, and also a wonderful husband, Mr. Cliff Samlal Singh. Welcome, guys and lady.
Thank you. Before we move in, we should do our disclaimer and then we can start to talk, because we are not financial advisors. This is not financial advice, nor are we your financial advisors. The topics discussed on this show are purely for educational considerations and are not meant to be misconstrued as financial nor investment advice. So join the conversation. Call us at 744-5503 and join the conversation with us as we begin. So I hand it over to Dwayne as he brings his opening remark, and let's see what we have for you this evening.
I didn't want to rush the maestro. I want to give Mr. Samlal Singh a chance to, Well,
definitely, that's the conversation. Oh, I am so sorry.
The maestro? Wow, yes. Hear the big term I get in there. Well, boy, what can we say other than we could start the show by saying, if all you noticed, West Indies win a game yesterday. It's only Netherlands, but we win a game. We are thankful for, the guest was telling me just how we give God praise, so I give him God praise for that little victory. But added to that, the financial climate's so chaotic now. You understand? That all we do here is try to assemble, try to discuss topics amongst ourselves that hopefully people who are out there would be able to say, hey, listen, it would intrigue them and compel them to do some research on their own. Don't just take our words, because as Donna reminded you, we are not your financial advisors. We can just speak from our own experience, and we are just hoping that what we say could compel you to want to go into a direction to be able to better afford things for yourself. And let me remind you, as I spoke with a few guys Monday, we had a little meeting. Most of us like to feel we're part of the middle class. Well, in Trinidad and Tobago, middle class is just a step above poverty. Remember that. Middle class is just a step above poverty. You know why? When you get sick, most of the times, most of the middle classes end up in state hospital. When you go in the state hospital, they don't ask you what is your income level. The bed you get assigned to You don't know who is right next to you. You don't know who is the community inside you. Very often, it's persons who can't afford also. That is why they're there. So please, if you're only aspiring to be middle class, please remember that this show is not just for that. This show is to help you earn prosperity, to be able to leave a legacy for those who you love the most. All right?
And we will just say, not to help you alone, but more like eye opener. More like an eye opener, guiding you and showing you things and sharing. Because we're not advising, just sharing and hoping that you will be so motivated that you want to dig deeper and find out more so that you can improve your situation. And that's a good
We
thing.
want to irritate your conscience to the point where you feel so uncomfortable with what you're hearing and it does not line up with what they taught you before. All the years you have been taught certain things, we want it to become so confusing to you. Say, nah, I'll go in and check out that for myself. That's what we want. When we see you doing that, we say, yes, our job is halfway done.
Nice.
All right? So, take it away, Dwayne.
You see why I call it the maestro?
Mama Gizm boy. Yes,
Anyhow.
MC. Yes, Mr.
Anyhow.
MC.
So all our viewers, both locally, regionally, and internationally, we thank you for tuning into our program this evening. And of course, we have a very, very special guest. And we entitled this particular episode, Why Diversify, right? And our guest this evening is someone who I've come to know, not too long ago, just probably about 2 years ago, we met each other's acquaintance. And of course, he is a businessman, he's a business owner, he's a fisherman, he's a Forex instructor, and he wears many more hats. One of his recent additions was father. So it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome this evening's guest to our program, Mr. Joet Charles of Fishing for Pips. Welcome, Mr. Joet Charles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good night. Thank you for that warm welcome. It was greatly appreciated. All right. Good night. Good night to the panel. It's good to be here with all of you tonight.
Good night.
Have a wonderful, interaction to share what we know with the public.
Yes, true. And
Yes,
of course,
good night.
we brought you on the program to really bring some enlightenment and some edification to our viewers, because listen, we don't want to show our faces alone. We want our viewers to know that there are many more people who probably not even affiliated with our network, but they understand what's happening globally. We are in the midst of the global financial reset, and it's good to hear other voices in the vineyard beside our own who understand exactly what is taking place right now. And so the question we pose to you tonight, Jojo, is based on all that you are doing now, why is it important to diversify your portfolio? Number one, because most people don't even have a portfolio at this time because they live basically paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes 2 paychecks down the road already owed out to somebody or some institution. So why should we diversify, Mr. Charles?
Okay, good. And this is a really great question because diversification is very, very important. Number one, multiple streams of income is important because you cannot build generational wealth from one stream of income, right? So that alone tells someone if you want to build generational wealth to leave things for your children, grandchildren, you must diversify. You must get into business. You must get into investment. You cannot get it from a salary, right? Doesn't matter how much you're working for. Good. You cannot get it from a salary. All right. It will also help you to be able to handle your liabilities, right? Comfortable, where you won't have a lack of money, right? Where you cannot live a lifestyle and live life by design and have that type of freedom, right? We all want freedom, financial independence, financial stability, and diversification is the way to get that under control, right? There is no way out. There is no way out. There is no way outside of that. No one income can do it. No one stream can do it. No job, no salary can do it. You must be able to expand, right? So sometimes businesses don't go well. You have 4 or 5 things going. If 2 come and fall, you still have 3 to pick up for the another 2 that fall, right? The pandemic would have been a really good example of how when you have one thing going and it comes and it takes away everything, no, what are you going to do, right? You're like a chicken, you're like a fish out of water, right? You don't know how to move. But if you were working on things, right? If you were working on things and investing in assets and building businesses and investing in certain places that recession proof, that pandemic couldn't even touch, you would have been able to stay afloat and don't have to worry, right? So that's the importance of diversifying.
Mr. Charles, if
Yes,
you may, yes, we are living in a situation in our world now, even in Trinidad and Tobago, where the masses, you see the trade unions protesting for an increase of 2%, while ministers, government, and so on, they have had several increases in their salary, their perks and so on, is to maintain pension and so on. But the masses are struggling to such an extent that they are protesting on the streets. You mentioned about the pandemic. We know now unemployment is at all high. Inflation is increasing. The masses are really crying out. There's a lot of poverty, unemployment, underemployment, contract labor. So how easy it is, in your opinion, in your view? Many may have not started to diversify as yet. And the conditions now, and that's giving you my view, may have made it more difficult. Where are people getting money? I mean, with the minimum wage and so on, where are people finding money to diversify? And how can they diversify, if you may?
correct. So now it's much more difficult because they have digged themselves in a deep hole, right? And now it's harder to come out. Now for you to diversify in a time like this, you gotta look into areas where it doesn't cost much to invest in something, right? Or it doesn't cost much to learn something or put your money somewhere that you can get some type of return, right? Whether from education to investing in something, it don't cost much. Like back then, you will have to, if you run in a clothes store, you will have to pay like what, $25,000 a month to run that clothes store. You could actually look for online business, right? Where all you need, your only overhead is a month phone card. Or once you have Wi-Fi or you have internet, right? And you sell your stuff from online. So look at that $25,000 rent every month to a little overhead of just a $300 phone card for you to have access for the month, and you could have an online store, right? So you have to look for areas where it will cost very little for you to do things because we done, things raising, food raising, cost of living raise like about 14% every year. They're fighting for 2%, and they're not going to get that 2% every year. But cost of living raises by 14% every year. Other things are going up, right? And people are being in more financial depression, more financial struggles. They're digging themselves deeper, can't pay the bills. People are losing everything. Some people are losing their sanity, right? And to diversify in a time like this, people have to, number one, they got to open up. They got to change their mindset, right? They got to change their mindset. They have to start to think, right? They have to start to act, because you can think and don't act. We don't want thinkers alone. We want doers, right? Take action about what you see before you. Look at the people who are successful. Look at what they're doing. Nice. Follow them, emulate them, right? Mimic them, do those type of things. But look, as a man who on the ground right now, who is not working for much money at all, he will look at his situation and say, me, I could never do anything like that. But he can. He just needs to be edified. He just needs education. Right? So once he get the education, he will know how to maneuver. Right? And then he will if he find himself in the right room with the right people, he could get even a head start from somebody, right?
I love how you talk there, man, because you echo the sentiments of every show that we have been saying.
Yep.
You notice, listeners, we have always been talking about financial education, always. Despite whatever topic we raise, that has always been a theme. And I want to suggest, or maybe just to kind of summarize what you were saying. When Brother Noel asked just now, how you go about diversifying, I think first thing that the person must have, and you rightfully say, you have to change your mindset.
Correct.
You must know why you want to diversify. You can't be just diversifying because, listen, my money making it, and let me try a thing. It can't be a thing. All right? I am not going to say that whatever you're going to go into must be successful. You know why? Because before success, mistakes must be made, and people have to be willing to understand that.
Yeah.
Right? I was in a group there Monday, as I was sharing before we came on here with some business people. And one of the points that was made, that same diversification came up. And they were talking, a lot of persons tell you, boy, listen, if I could just get a piece of land or drop some apartments, I will link up with HDC, drop some apartments, so we form a joint venture partnership with HDC, and we fix after that. It will be like that because why? Yes, there is a demand, so people see the demand because HDC could tell you about all the long years of waiting lists that they have. But guess what? A demand does not necessarily mean an opportunity. You know why? Because when you want to put up your apartments, what is the income category that is going to be renting those apartments? So you thinking one standard of apartments, but the persons who could qualify based on the HDC venture, you wouldn't think about that. So automatically, you have two different kinds of thinking right there. All of a sudden, you're realizing problem. Secondly, you're going into HDC, and HDC telling you one time they don't have money to put into your thing there, and they don't have much of this to add here. However, they want to still call the shots. So you now want to throw up apartments, but you still have to subscribe to their decisions. So it's a whole lot of things, and yet they're not helping that much. So again, persons, don't just feel because there is a demand, that's the way we're running into. You need to do some homework first. And what Mr. Charles is telling you is that even if you're going into that direction or most other areas, you need a certain degree of capital. So I don't tell persons to leave the job wherever they're doing now. However, even if it's an 8-hour, 10-hour job where you're exchanging time for money, you must have a plan why you're doing it. And the plan can't be just, I'm bringing home money to be able to take care of the bills and the children and the groceries, and I'm going back out again. It has to be more than that. It has to be a difference in mindset.
Yeah, correct.
I want to add something because I'm listening to Mr. Charles. I listen to Brother Noel question. I mean, very good points, Mr. Charles. Very good point. As a woman, I remember telling my husband, he said, you have to use the 5-jar principle. Remember when we had spoken about our 5-jar principle with the money management? Where you invest, where you put savings. Yeah, where you put savings. And when my husband taught me that the word sale affects your emotions. So it makes women like myself go out and shop.
Yes.
So, no, I'm being real. To diversify,
sale makes you buy things that you don't really need.
Right, but to diversify, what I realized is I used to tell him, how I could diversify? The money barely could pay the rent, it barely could pay the bills, it barely could pay things. And you want me now to put for investment and you want me to put for savings? I can't save, I can't invest. What do? And I realized it became a different kind of thinking and discipline possibility. And I realized it was a serious mind discipline and different kind of thinking, because you had to really be disciplined to do the right thing and avoid going outside and the word sale triggers you off and you're going and do something you shouldn't do.
You know what was the big difference it made from the rule number 1? You know what you say? You were saying? I was saying, but how I go be able to diversify?
Yes, I'm
I'm
talking
done
real.
spending all my money in this. You know what happened here? You close your mind to opportunities
That's
by
right.
doing that.
Yes.
You understand? Your
Correct,
mindset
correct,
is
correct.
one that says, I accept this is my reality and it have no other way that change could be made. You know, you the individual have to say, and people we being real now.
Yeah, because that's
We
real.
right? You
It
know what
starts with mindset. It
right.
definitely starts with mindset. It starts with mindset. Yeah, then you have to know your why, right? You have to have a goal.
That's
You have to have
why.
a plan.
You see what you just
Yeah,
said, Mr. Charles?
you
That's
gotta have
why.
a big why.
That's right. It had to be bigger than you. It had to be
Yeah.
big.
So if you find you're struggling because you're making, let me say, let me argue, for argument's sake, all you're making is $2,500 a month, and you're struggling with that. Well, guess what? You have to find a way to fool your mind, trick your mind into believing that all you're receiving is 90% of that. The next
That's right.
10%, the
That's
next
right. That's
10%,
right.
you're pulling away. You're done struggling with 3,500. Well, the struggle will be even a little more with a little less money. But guess something? You were saying that 10% you deprive yourself of. That's where it's starting, eh? That's not where it's ending. That 10% you're depriving yourself of. 10% of 3,500 is what? 350? 3,500 minus 350 is what? 3,150? So you only now living on 3,150 a month, not 3,500. Well, Cliff, what happened? Yeah, what is your want again? What it is I want again is for you to suck salt a little more on 3,150 and not 3,500 for a little while. You know why? The 10% you just put away there, you're looking towards a plan to make it multiply.
Sacrifice
This
is
is
the
where,
price.
this is where it
Sacrifice is the
starts.
price. Yeah,
Oh,
sacrifice is the price. I mean, some
I like
people, I
that.
mean, mindset, you gotta cut down on your cost of living, you know, the way how you live your lifestyle. Some people literally living above the means. The salary could do something for them. They could save some from it. I can remember we was doing a little work, me and my partner, and we getting the same pay. 6 months down the road, he saved 15. 6 months down the road, I don't have a dime. We was getting the same pay. Is what I was doing with mine and what he was doing with his own, right? That's what shows us. Well, I could have saved that same money too. I could have started a business with that. I could have invest that somewhere. I could have do something with that. So if if you don't have that power of control, you know what I mean? And people have to know thyself. I just tell people, don't believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you doubt in yourself. Believe is a doubt. Know thyself. Now you can believe in something, but know thyself.
Yes.
Right? I don't have to believe in my mother and father. I know my mother and father. Nice. I believe in God, but I never sit with him, drink in a glass or drink a beer with him, pitch marble with him. I believe in God. I read his word. I know his word, right? I know his word, and I know thyself. I read his word. I've seen 80% of what the Bible says come to pass. Nice. But you gotta know yourself.
So true.
You gotta learn yourself and know yourself, because your belief will be tested. And when your belief is tested, you start to doubt. Nice. So you gotta change your whole mindset. You gotta know yourself, know what you want, know your why, right? Know your goals in life, know where you want to go. And then you will look at your salary and say, you know what, I need to cut back on this. I need to cut back on that. I need to, stop doing this. And then take that money and start to channel it to somewhere that will start to, do something for you. Even if it's to go and take a course, just to get some medication, that's a good start. Even if it's to just go in the bookstore and buy a book, that's a good investment, because that's self-development. You're going to start to work on there.
Powerful point, Joe. In terms of possessing other skills, so we introduced you, and we told the people some of your portfolio. I mean, we can't tell them everything, but we know that number one, you're a fisherman. Number two, you're a Forex instructor. Number three, you own your own business. So what I'm asking you as we go to the bottom of the hour before the break is, does it make sense having other skills in this time? We're talking about diversification, because some people only have tunnel vision. that one job that you have, what if they lay you off tomorrow? What's the position? You know? So does it make sense having other skill sets?
Definitely. Definitely, it makes so much sense having other skills, but not just any other skill. Skill in areas where it's recession proof, right? Because other things will be affected if you just channel in other areas. But skills in an area of where there is financial literacy, where there is a place that you can actually invest your money and be independent and empowered, and nothing can really interfere with it, no matter if there's an economic downturn, no matter if there's economic crisis, doesn't matter if it's a pandemic again, or whatever the case may be, you can still stay afloat. Like for me, in the pandemic, right, the whole world shut down. I mean, first time we actually ever experienced that. The whole world shut down, right? I've never experienced that in my life. Watch how much people lost their jobs, watch how much people lose their businesses, and the market was still moving up and down. And we had the skill with a little bit of money that we could invest in there and don't have to beat up about going out there and working and beating up and, you know, studying where the next dollar coming from. We invest in a skill, we diversify in a skill that cannot be hampered by what happens in the world, right? And that is very powerful. So you got to know where you're now. Everything else is going to come back up. Any crisis won't last forever. It's going to just be for a time, right? And it's going to come back up. So all the real estate and all these other things will come back up. But like cryptocurrency, the digital world, this is places that you need your skill. I just tell anybody, I don't care if you're working, just don't have a job alone. You can keep your job. You love your job, good, keep that. But do not have a job alone. Look for business and investments and invest in these places.
Powerful point, powerful point. And on that note, we want to go to a break and we'll be right back. So stick and stay with us.
Get started now. Get started with your One Academy package. Get started with your starter package. It's only $1,600 TT. Get your financial education from the One Academy. Although it's a beginner package, the information you're going to get from your One Academy starter package, you would have more knowledge than 90% of the world's population on finance for just $1,600 TT. Let's create a revolution. Let's spread the epidemic of our One Academy, One Life. Get it today.
Welcome to the Antediluvian Nature Center of Life Extension and Health Recovery. Coming from the Garden of Eden, the Antediluvian Nature Center brings to you breakthrough medicines and anti-aging technologies for all ailments and diseases in the body, nutritional therapies, naturopathic treatments, as we create opportunities of hope and celebrate longevity. And remember, the healing is from God.
Do you know? What am I speaking about? Do you know what is cryptocurrency? Do you know what is blockchain technology? Are you aware of what we currently face on a regular basis with quantitative easing, fractional reserve lending? Do you know? I am inviting you to come out of the financial darkness and into financial light. The only way for us to achieve that is with education. And one particular type of education is what I'm speaking about. I'm asking you to join the One Academy. It is a financial revolution of teaching regarding introduction to finance, cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, helping you understand the world of money and what is money. What is money? Money is simple. It is what we agree upon to exchange for goods and services. If you want full comprehension, join the One Academy.
When I'm training for professional competitions, men and women always ask me for advice. To women, I say push yourself harder than you ever have before and go beyond your comfort zone. Focus on your goals. Men, if I am willing to push myself to become Mr. Olympia in 2022, then I only have one thing to say to you. Bring your
full 100.
Here we go again.
Boom, and we are back. I love it. Mr. Charles made a very important point just now. He talked about cryptocurrency and the technology and that sort of thing. And you know, it brought back to me a saying, I think it's Bill Gates, I'm not too sure, but he said, if you want to be successful, you need to look at where the world is going and get there before them. And if you look around you, if the world is making changes, let me just use a simple thing like your phone. This little technology now. If you decide to continue to use a Me Too, you could only call you and nobody else, because you won't get calls from it or anything. You have to move with technology. You have to move with what is happening. And when you look at what is happening with the change in money and the changes that is taking place in the world, by where you can get money, where you can make money, things that can teach you how to become more successful, I think you need to look at it. And I think that is where Mr. Charles was heading. As I hand over to him and Dwayne, and we just had a call from Beview, right? Another person visiting and coming through. But I am sure from the way I've heard Mr. Charles talk, he's enlightened, and he looks like he recognizes the things you need to empower yourself. And I'm saying to you, watch at where the world is going and get ahead of them. Don't sit back and wait and say, well, I'm going to wait and see what happens. I'm going to wait and watch. You have to move with the wind, otherwise you'll be left behind. And of course, that will mean that while you're left behind, you have made nothing. And they say, J-O-B, it's a good thing to have a job, but it's just overbroken. You need to move from that way.
When I spoke to Mr. Charles about coming on the program, I was excited and elated. You know why? Because I knew that we weren't speaking or we weren't going to interact with a novice. I know he would have a foundation, something that, a common ground that we could all agree upon. He understands the history of money. He understands this whole fiat currency system is just a game. He understands value. He understands patience. He understands that basically before anything else changes, that mental shift has to take place. And I am glad that our viewers could hear it from his mouth and not our mouth. Mind you, folks, we didn't pay Mr. Charles. We cannot pay Mr. Charles because Mr. Charles knows about money. Mr. Charles robs the banks legally.
Legally. Legal, ethical, and moral.
Okay, but let's say Michael Francis, thank you for coming in, Michael. He says we need to diversify our mind from the education we were taught and re-educate yourself with an emphasis on financial education. Well said, Michael. Well said.
Powerful, powerful. Unlearn and relearn. That's something everybody needs to do right now. Unlearn and relearn. You got to get out of that programming. That programming is the dangerous destroyer, right? You got to come out of that mindset. We have to move in.
Joe, we talked about, we haven't talked about it as yet, but I want to segue into that now, community. So you have your trading institute and you are building a community of like-minded people, enlightened about finance, understanding how the financial markets work. I want to quote you on this, understanding the market makers and how they create the markets and how the market moves, right? You understand the importance of building a community. I want you to share that vision with our viewers this evening, because we are trying to build a global community and we are trying to get them to understand that concept, but perhaps you can articulate it in a way that we couldn't.
Yeah, for sure. I'm building a very powerful team right now. I mean, we are 500 large, right? Almost 600, right? But I've thought about 4 groups before that I also grew to 500. So in all is about 2,500, right?
Wow.
So powerful. And I mean, when I look at the education that was out there, right? I realized there was something wrong with the education. There was something wrong with what people were actually teaching. A lot of people were failing. 95% of people were actually failing. And I was like, why this is happening? If there's so much information out there, so much education out there, how come so many people are not seeing the success? How come so many people are not succeeding? Something has to be wrong. It's not about who made a small profit, but you're losing more money than you make, right? Because the education is not right. So I decided to, when I was exposed to the truth, right, and how the market and really financial literacy, the good education, the right thing, right, and I've tried it for myself. I've practiced it, back tested, see the results, get experience with it, did some more research, and I saw what was happening. I was like, wow, it was nothing to what the masses were doing. It was the total opposite to what the masses were doing. And I was like, okay, cool. I have to now take what I know, share this knowledge with people who are failing, and let me see the results of it. So I took what I know, what I actually use and invest, and saw a drastic change based on what I was taught before, right? And I saw persons went from failing and gradually transcend into progressing and actually seeing profit. And I did that with one person. This family become financially stable and independent. I did it with the next person. Those families start to run and tell everybody, hey, go buy Jojo and learn. You know what I mean? I didn't tell them to go on network market. I didn't tell them to go and do anything. You know, but just because of what they learned, it was so powerful, they couldn't keep it. They had us to go and share it with other people. You know, and it started with one person and just keep on growing and growing and growing. And everybody started to become independent. Everybody started to become empowered. What is the financial literacy that I teach them? Because the greatest currency in the world is the truth. Right? The greatest currency in the world is the truth. Right? The truth must be taught. Right? And it must be told. You see, I won't tell people what they want to hear. I will tell them what needs to be told. Right? Because we don't want to sell people any dreams. Right? So I just always tell people, I want you to see my sacrifice. I don't want you to see my success. I need you to see my sacrifice, because it doesn't come just like that. It comes with time, effort, energy, commitment, consistency, right? It takes a lot out of you, but it's better than spending 20 years on a job, right?
Jojo, a question. Have you failed, and how have you dealt with your failure?
Yeah, I failed my way straight to success. Yeah, I fail every day.
I like that.
I failed my way straight to success. It wasn't a smooth road.
Because people have hang-ups about failure. You know, they don't understand that failure is just a lesson that we have to learn from. And once we take away the salient points, we can be able to build upon that failure and do things differently. You know, but most people throw their hands in the air after 1, 2, 3 times they try something and it doesn't work out for them. They just throw away all that experience and walk away from the diamond.
Yeah, so, correct. And yeah, go ahead. Let me cut you.
Yeah, so tell them about failure and what you've learned from over the years.
One of the things that motivated me was the man that invented the light bulb. When I looked at his story, I saw that he conducted 1,000 failed experiments. The 1,001 actually worked. Where he get that courage from to fail 1,000 times and still keep going?
That's a good question. Courage. Where you get it?
Where you get that courage from? He just found 1,000 ways not to do it wrong.
Right.
got it right the 1,001 time. Where
Mr.
you get that?
Charles,
Where you get
Mr. Charles, there's even a modern day example you could use. I think I'd mentioned it at a time on the program. You know the product WD-40?
Yeah.
Everybody knows it because it's like a miracle cure for all kinds of things that you want loosened and all of that.
Bad
All
things.
your elbows and stuff.
Yeah. Now, WD-40 really stands for water displacement. That's what the WD stands for.
Okay.
And the 40 is because the person had failed 39 times prior. And the 40th time, the formula was bang on. So
Wow.
that's why they call it WD-40.
That's a nice
See, I learned something there. Didn't even know that, right?
So how many times would we have been willing to continue going on after 10 failures, 15, 20, 25?
We might even make WD2.
You understand? So this is why I was just expounding anything. And
Yeah,
my wife has always been reminding me, she got I wasn't her first boyfriend, but she thanked God she persevered after all the failure she had out there to find the perfection in her life. Now.
Perseverance, persistence, and consistency, right? But that's a really great analogy there, right? Because trust me, you gotta build the courage. You gotta build that nerve that you could feel. Anything you're doing for the first time, it will be hard because you don't know. Anything you do in the first time, you will fail. You have to keep at it until you find a way, until you make a way, right? And you will get there. So that story alone used to always keep playing in my head, because I'm investing, I'm losing money, I've made some losses. A lot of people tell me when I was just getting into the business, don't go into that, it's a scam, it has risks and you can lose your money and this. I mean, thank God I didn't listen to them up to this day, right? But I have had my fair share of my experience. Up to now, I tell my students, go and make mistakes. That's how you learn, right? Make mistakes.
Yeah. You talk about changing your pattern of thinking, your mindset, right? Your paradigm, if you will, right? If you would. And you talk about taking action.
Yeah, action.
Could you share with us? Could you give us some insight into what fields you will recommend for someone to diversify in?
Well, fields definitely. For me, I would tell anybody diversify into the financial space. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, financial market, right? That is the area that you need to diversify into. Why? Because we are moving into those times right now. We are not in the brick and mortar age anymore. We're in the information age. By the click of a button, boom, look, I'm home. I'm on my phone.
Right.
I could be in the air, I could be on the ocean floating, or I could be running around going in the bush. I can make money off of my cell phone. Right? It's powerful that we're in a place where you make money work for you. We never had the opportunity before. We know about just going out there and working for that money, right? Sweat equity.
Yeah.
Right? But now we're in an era, right, that we can literally learn about the financial markets, get educated correctly, right? Get the proper knowledge, the proper coaching, the proper mentoring, right? And we can invest in this space and we can generate money and then take that money and then also go outside of the box and create and do more business, more assets. But this is the place to give you all the financial freedom you want, all the financial stability you want. Because when everything else fails around you, this will be the only thing still standing there that you can literally fall back on or fall forward on, right? Fall forward on, no fall back on anything, fall forward on it. And this will still keep you financially afloat. And this will generate the money that you want.
Yeah, don't mind me being a little negative here, right?
No problem.
So, right, you're talking about you're talking about the digital revolution, you're talking about cryptocurrency. But we have heard of the volatility of cryptocurrency. We have heard also of central bank digital currencies, which is a little different. We have heard of the what they call pump and dump scenario in the crypto space, where I mean top celebrities and top players, even recently, there was a scenario where people lose all their savings, so to speak, because of this cryptocurrency and how volatile it is. So we have been pushing the idea all the time in the show about education. Share with us some of your experiences, guide us along. What type of investments really should people be making when they're diversifying? Guide us along, because education is very important and we have to know what you're investing in. You have to know what you're getting into. You have to know the rules of the game. So share some more with us.
Well, number one, liquidity. We love that. Without liquidity, we can't move. We can't make money. So volatile markets is our playground, right? We love volatility, but you have to have the education. Now, the first thing you need to get the education from the industry, not from a man on the ground that claims say that he creates some strategy. You need to get the education from the industry, which means someone controls this space, whether the banks run it or not. Something or someone runs this thing. And anything that have a business model, any business out there, any business have a business model. And you could learn it.
Right.
When you walk in the industry, look at the people who do well, learn the education about the industry, so you will know where it's suitable for you to invest. Or if you know that you're not risk averse, if you're a risk averse person, you're not going to interfere with those high volatile stuff. You're going to, stay on Forex and stay on those, less volatile pairs. Good. But there's an education that works across the board. It works in all asset class. It works in all the financial markets. Doesn't matter if it's crypto, indices, stocks, bonds. It doesn't matter. Forex, commodities. It doesn't matter. There's an education that any move can be understood across all the markets. So when you talk about education and people lost a lot of money in volatile markets, is what type of education these people went and invest in these things with. Right? There's a lot of false education out there in the public domain. There are false educators, there are false education, there are misconceptions, there are wrong precepts and concepts. So you got to know where you're getting your source from. And it's very hard, because if you look in the public domain and you see all this information, all this education, you cannot just choose it out not knowing about about the industry, right? But there are people who are showing you and telling you, right, the right thing. And you have to look at the masses and see what they're following, and look at the people who are actually moving into this space and doing well, and you will be able to define, right? And those are the people you need to listen to. Anytime you see we have 95% of people rolling, something wrong there.
I love what you said, Joe, earlier. Truth. You focus on the truth.
Yeah.
Our organization has.
I'm from New Hampshire, Heston Fair.
All right. Yeah, so Joe, you focus on the truth. And
definitely.
This is something that we have been laboring on or be laboring on, for probably a year plus now. We've been trying to get persons to that place where they commit to themselves. I recently did a speech and I spoke about how I was committed to my mentor, but then I got committed to myself, and that's when the real reward started to roll in. And so people need to bring themselves into focus, as you said before, and know themselves, know their risk tolerance, know what it is they want in life, their why, why it is that they're doing all of this. Is it for legacy building? Is it, you want to make a change in the world? Whatever your why is, understand that and move from that position now and start to take action.
Thank Dr. Morton. He says, listen to people who have what you want. and have the evidence that it works. Have the
Correct.
evidence that it works.
Evidence. You see,
Yes, that's what
you
he's
cannot
linking your
believe.
teeth, Joette.
Yeah, you cannot believe in, what you don't know, what you don't know. You cannot believe in, right? You gotta know. You gotta know. You gotta know it. Like that's why I say, know thyself, right? Nice.
Go beyond confidence.
Yeah, you gotta know thyself. So I know the market works. I've invested in there. I've studied. I've made mistakes. I've lost money, right? I've invested there. I've find the truth. I apply the truth. I saw it make me very consistent, very accurate, right? Very effective in the market. I shared with other people who were failing, and they also came and do the same thing. They're well on their way right now, right? And they're very independent and very empowered. So even if I don't show up, they still know how to go and do it for themselves, and that's very powerful. Most people are dependent, while I make people independent because of the education. Education is the key, right? And investing in the financial industry, you must source the right, correct, and true information. There's no way to make it in the financial industry without that education. You know what I mean? There's no way. You will make little money, but you will always get damaged over a period of time. But this market is the market to invest in. It's the place. You just need the right education. Don't fear it. Don't study about loss. Don't study about risk. It's all about control, right? It's come like you driving a car. If you never drive a car before and you try to jump in that vehicle and drive from San Fernando to Port of Spain, 98% chance you will crash because you never drive that car before. You don't know how to use the mirrors. You don't know the average. You don't know nothing, right? But if you go to the license office, do your regulations, do a little driving test, and you jump in that car now, well, you stand a better chance of driving from San Fernando to Port of Spain without actually bouncing, right? So it's not about risk, it's about control. So I realized I had to control myself. I had also work on myself, right? I had to work on my mindset. I had to work on my emotional control. You can't delete your emotions, you could control it. Nice. I had to work on, planning. I had to work on strategizing. I had to work on all these things, my psychological, my thought process, the way I think, the way I react. Nice. To certain things. If I lose money, how do I feel? If I win, if I profit, how do I feel? Nice. Because to be consistent, you have to have a level of self-control. And greed is a number one killer, right? Greed is a number one killer in this market because everybody thinks I get rich quick.
Joe,
it is not get rich quick.
When I hear you talk, I feel in one life. Because all the principles we learn about fear, hope, and greed, and that was very early up in the program. We learned about those things.
Yeah.
So I feel you have a package, and I don't know.
Anybody in this space will definitely come across to learn all these key things. Anybody in this space.
Mr. Charles, the only thing I disagree with in what you said there just now is the ending part.
What is that?
I always tell people greed is good. I say that. You understand? Because I say if you don't have greed, you can't start with ambition.
No, not type of greed.
I know. I know. Understand? Yeah, you talk about greed where you lose yourself. Right? That's what you're talking about. But I tell people greed is good. Because if you don't have greed, you don't want to rise above your circumstances. Understand?
No, you could have a certain drive to get something, but not quite. You know what I mean? You could have a drive to get more, to want more. But to be greedy is you want to take from. And as that you want to take from.
Just now, we are right. Careful when you use that statement because in the forex space, for you to get, you have to take from somewhere.
No. I mean take from. What I mean take from? You're taking from someone. Like all the you want to take from someone. You want too much. You want to bite too much of the cake, or you can't eat.
All right.
That's what I mean.
Balance.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We who profit in the market, we We get opportunities from the people that we call the market makers. We cannot go and bite what we want. If we try to bite what we want, we will end up getting dabbed, right? So we got to go in there and take a percentage. It's a percentage-based business, right? Remember, trading is a business, so you treat it like one and pay like one. We work on percentage increase. If we get stuck out on an investment, we get a small decrease. The goal is to be consistently profitable. Every 10 trades we take, we should at least be winning 8. If we lose 2, that's okay. We will still always keep a net profit. And we keep going like that. But if we try to jump for too much at one time, we could lose our whole account, which means we will be over leveraging. We will be too greedy. We want to make too much in one day. It's about small percentage over a period of time is what is accumulate millions. You understand? Small percentages, week after week, month after month, year after year.
Right? What I love this evening is that we still go back to the main fact. It begins here. Yes. The mindset has to change. You have to diversify to become better, not to stay where you are. And I am looking forward to next week. We don't know what we will have to share with you, but I know it's going to help you to become better. So join us. Come in, hear what we have to say, and become a part of the conversation. We had some people who were on this afternoon, and I thank them for being here.
Yes. Thank you for being here. I'll be back again.
Yes, thank you, sir. We're looking forward to it. We have to stop now, but don't stop changing and diversifying in your mind.
So,
change your mindset, diversify.
So I close off with have a prosperous week, listeners. All right, wherever you are. Let prosperity be your drive.
One ecosystem, you know them. We not frightened for nobody, but we respect everybody, and we better than everybody. So we will run with anybody. No fear, no better than we. No kind, no better than we. Step on me one and say, one ecosystem to the world. You say, one ecosystem will do something, do something. Do something, uno do something. I'm not talking. One ecosystem will do something, do something, uno do something. I'm not bag of lip chasing. Aye.